All right. What's up, everybody? My people, Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, West Staten Island, my homeborough, Brooklyn. It's gonna be part two to the Mecca of basketball, the rise and fall of the Mecca of basketball series that I'm doing on the New York Knicks franchise. Part one, I talked about the glory years with Willis Reed and Walt Clyde Frazier in the 60s and 70s, winning 2 championships. This is gonna get to the Patrick Ewing era. But first, we're gonna start out with Mr. Bernard King. Okay. Now, in the aftermath of the Knicks winning the championship in 73, had a couple good years, made to the playoffs in 74 and 75 and lost. Made the playoffs in another couple years, but for the most part were terrible. They weren't what they were back in the Willis Reed, Walt Clyde Frazier era. That all changed. Okay. That all changed in 82, 83 when they traded for a young Bernard King, a guy who'd been in the league for a while, played in Utah, played in New Jersey and Golden State. Put up good numbers, but wasn't consistent, couldn't stay healthy, kept missing games, and had problems. But when he landed in New York, that all changed. His first year in New York, he averaged 22 points a game, 22, 3, and 5. 22 points, 3 assists, 5 boards. 5 boards, and he led the Knicks to a 44 and 38 record. They swept the New Jersey Nets in the first round, and then got swept by the Philadelphia 76ers, 4-5-4. With Maurice Cheeks, Moses Malone, rest in peace, and Dr. J. Next year in 83-84, he led the Knicks to a 47-35 record. He averaged 26 points, 2 assists, and 5 boards on efficient 53% field goal shooting. Like, Bernard King is probably one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history. Of course, he's not like a Jordan or a Kevin Durant, but he's very proficient and efficient. Then, of course, the Knicks, they beat the Detroit Pistons led by Isaiah Thomas in 5 games in the first round, and then went 7 with the Larry Bird-led Boston Celtics. They lost in 7, of course, but Bird and Bernard King dueled it out, and of course they lost. And the Celtics went on to win the championship that year. Next year, in the 84-85 season, he missed a couple games, but he played 55 games, started all 55. He led the league in scoring, averaging 33, probably his best year in New York with the Knicks. He averaged 33 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game on 53% field goal shooting. He shot 77% from the free throw line. But the Knicks didn't make the playoffs because he only played and started 55 games. Their record was 24-58. But that led him to get to the number 1 overall pick. Bernard King was, as it says right here, as you can see in this, was the king of New York in the mid-'80s because, the Yankees had fallen off. Even with Dave Winfield, they had fallen off. You had Lawrence Taylor. Mark Gastineau on the Jets, the New York Sack Exchange, Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden, they were coming with the Mets. But Bernard King was the king of New York. Okay, if you're the best player on the Knicks and they're winning, and you're winning championships, you're the king of New York. Unless you're the best baseball player on the Yanks when they're winning. Okay, those two are. If you're the best baseball player on the Yankees and you're winning, and you're the best basketball player on the Knicks and they're winning, you're the king of New York. It's between you two. Okay, nothing against the players who play for the Giants, but the Giants are Jets, but that's just how it is. We're a baseball and basketball town first. Like I said, Bernard King had great years. 85, 86, he did not play the entire season because he blew his knee out. He missed the entire season. And the Knicks drafted, of course, 85 number 1 overall. This man right here, my Jamaican brother, Patrick Ewing. Of course, the Knicks didn't make the playoffs without Bernard King. Bernard King did return, however, the next season. 86, 87, which turned out to be his last season in New York. At age 30, he averaged 23 points a game on 49.5% shooting. He only averaged 3 assists and 5 boards. Not bad stats, but, they had Patrick Ewing, a young fella, who they wanted to build the team around, so they decided to move on. They traded King to the Washington Bullets. At the time, the Washington Bullets. Now they're the Wizards. 87, 88, they get Mark Jackson. They draft Mark Jackson, winning Rookie of the Year. They go to the playoffs, lose to the Boston Celtics. Next year, 89, they lose to the Bulls in 6. Next year, 90, they lose to the bad boy Pistons in the semifinals, got blown out in 5. But the Knicks team was coming. They get the great Charles Oakley. They get John Stocks and Anthony Mason, Xavier McDaniel. They improved. 90-91, they got swept by Chicago, of course. They got swept by Chicago. This was the beginning of the Bulls Knicks rivalry. They were heated rivals back then, competing against each other. 91, 92, they played the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons. Well, after Michael Jordan had destroyed them by sweeping them in the '91 conference finals. That was probably the most physical, football basketball series I've ever. If you watch it on YouTube, some of the games are on YouTube. Those two were beating the hell out of each other. Oakley, Ewing, Anthony Mason, rest in peace, against Lane Beer and John Salley and Isaiah Thomas. Like, they were just beating the hell out of each other. That was football basketball. The Knicks won that series in 5, 3-2. 3-2, and they went on to play the Bulls in the conference semifinals and, of course, lost in 7. The 92 Bulls are probably one of the greatest teams of all time. They're definitely top 10, top 15. Well, just an aside, that speaks to the greatness of Michael Jordan. Two of the greatest teams of all time were led by him, the 96 Bulls and the 92 Bulls. The 97 Bulls are underrated. Okay, but, next year, 92, 93, we played the Reggie Miller Pacers, our future rival. In the first round, beat them in 4-3-1. Pat Riley was the coach of the year. Played Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning in the Hornets, second round, beat them in 5. And it's not the last time we would see Zoe and LJ. And played the Bulls in the conference finals. And, of course, lost in 6. The Bulls went on to win the championship that year. And then, as we all know, this happened. And after the 92-93 season, Michael Jordan announced his retirement from the NBA. And the Knicks were favored to win the championship that year. In the NBA, low-key wanted the Knicks to win the championship because, that's New York City. Jordan's gone, you need somebody to win, so why not have your biggest media market, the Mecca of basketball, winning? Okay? The Knicks that year went 57-25. They played New Jersey, beat them, played the Bulls in the second round, beat them in 7. Of course, played Reggie Miller, probably one of the greatest playoff series of all time. Conference finals, 94, because we all know Spike Lee and Reggie chirping at each other. Reggie scored 39 points and had the 8 points in 9 seconds and beat us, but we came back and beat them in 7. In Game 7, we went on to face Hakeem Olajuwon and the Rockets. That year in the NBA Finals, probably my pops always tells me the 94 Finals are one of the greatest finals he's ever seen. I've seen it on YouTube. It was a really great series, Hakeem Olajuwon was the league MVP that year. Vernon Mad Max Maxwell, Otis Thorpe, Mario Elie, Sam Cassell, the rookie, Kenny the Jet Smith, all them dudes. Against Patrick, the X-Man, Mason, John Stocks, Oakley. It was a great series. We were up 3-2. Of course, we all know Starks went up for the shot. Hakeem blocked it and then closed it out in Game 7 in Houston, and that was it. We lost. Okay, Hakeem dominated Patrick in that series. Hakeem averaged like 32 points in that series. Damn sure dominated him on the defensive end. Like, Hakeem just could. That's why Hakeem's so great. That's why Hakeem's in my top 10, because he just cooked all the best centers in his era. Ewing, Robinson, Shaq, all them dudes. Kareem, Robert Parrish, just even though they lost to the Celtics in '86. But this ain't a Hakeem video. This is a Knicks video. The next year, 94-95, the Knicks went on to play. The Knicks went on to win 55 games, 55-27. They played the Cavaliers in the first round, beat them. When we rematched against the Indiana Pacers, Reggie Miller. Of course, we all know what happened. Patrick Ewing missed a layup. And that was it. The Pacers closes out in Game 7 in the Garden. But then they went on to lose to the Orlando Magic, so it's all good. The Knicks of the 90s, man, probably one of the most physical teams of all time. The Knicks probably, if Michael Jordan and the Bulls had not existed, the Knicks probably would have been a dynasty in that era. Probably would have been like the San Antonio Spurs before Spurs. They probably would have won back-to-back, maybe lose one year to the Rockets and them, then probably win it again, had the Bulls not existed. Who knows? But, of course, the Knicks made a lot of enemies during that era because after 95, 96, after 94, 95, Pat Riley left to coach the Miami Heat. He had Alonzo Mourning, he had Tim Hardaway, he had P.J. Brown, he had all them dudes, and that became one of the most physical rivalries in the NBA. Next year, 7, the Knicks went 57-25. We beat the Heat in 7. We just owned that. We just owned the Heat back then. Yeah, beat them 96-97, 97-98. So we lost to them in 96-97. Excuse me. Beat them in 97-98, 99. Beat them in 2000. We just owned that rivalry back then. Of course, here's Larry Johnson here's Charles Oakley and Alonzo Mourning. Larry Johnson and Mourning. We all know Alonzo and LJ shadow boxing in the Garden. They both got suspended for that game, but that's whatever. The 99 Knicks probably one of the most memorable teams in NBA history. Cinderella team and a strike-short 50-game season. The Knicks won 27 games, won 27-23. Played the Heat in the first round. The Heat were the number one seed, I believe, in the Eastern Conference that year. A lot of people thought they were going to win the championship, but of course, they were into Latrell Sprewell, Larry Johnson, Allen Houston, and older Patrick Ewing and Marcus Camby, and lost in 5, 3-2. Went on to sweep the Hawks in the semifinals, faced off against Reggie and the Pacers once again, beat them in 6, and played the San Antonio Spurs in the 99 NBA Finals. Ran into a young Tim Duncan, a hungry Robinson, Sean Elliott, and Avery Johnson, and of course lost. Lost in 5, and the Spurs closed out Game 5 in the Garden. And the next year, 99-2000, got to the conference finals and lost to Reggie Miller and the Pacers. And after that, they traded Patrick Ewing to the Seattle Supersonics, and that was the end of the Patrick Ewing era as we knew and loved him. Patrick Ewing's probably the greatest nigga of all time. He holds most of the franchise records. And let me say this about Patrick Ewing. When we talk about the greatest players to never win a championship, you mentioned John Stockton, Karl Malone, Reggie Miller, you think Charles Barkley. But Patrick, to me, is the greatest player to not win a championship. And yeah, you can say it's because it's Knicks bias, but it cost him more in the long run. Because Patrick Ewing's probably one of the most talented. If we're talking about Patrick Ewing, if we're talking about talent and skill, he's probably up there as one of the top 10 greatest centers of all time. With, a Shaq and a Hakeem Olajuwon, a David Robinson, and a Bill Russell, and a Wilt, and a Kareem. We're talking about just talent and skill. Patrick Ewing's probably right up there. But, nobody mentions him because why? He didn't win a championship. The one chance he had to win a championship, he got cooked by Hakeem Olajuwon. Because 99, of course, Patrick got hurt in that playoff run, so he missed that playoff run. But the one real chance he had to win a championship, he got cooked. When we talk about, the greatest power forwards of all time, people bring up Karl Malone, second leading scorer in NBA history as of right now, and a 2-time league MVP. Charles Barkley, pound for pound, inch for inch, talent, athleticism, skill-wise, is probably the greatest power forward ever. It's talking about athleticism, skill, and talent. Stockton is the all-time leader in assists and steals. When we talk about the greatest point guards ever, we're going to mention John Stockton. When we talk about the greatest shooters ever, we're going to mention Reggie Miller. When we talk about the greatest centers of all time, most skilled centers of all time, nobody brings up Patrick Ewing. Why? Because he didn't win a championship. So to me, it cost him more in the long run in terms of legacy. But that's going to be it for this video in the Patrick Ewing era. All right, see you all.